The content of this podcast is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended as, nor should it be considered a substitute for professional medical advice.
Hello, this is Karen Nickel, family nurse practitioner, and you are listening to Itchy and Bitchy, a podcast that provides answers to your many unanswered health questions. Once again, I want to remind you about my course for perimenopausal women. After speaking with lots of women who are in this phase of life, I've developed a comprehensive course to help address the symptoms that so many women experience in their 30s, 40s, and early 50s. I would love to talk to you about the course to see if it is the right fit for you. There is a link on our website, itchyandbitchy.com, and that's spelled, the word and is spelled out. So itchyandbitchy.com, and our Facebook page, I and B Podcast. And that the and is not spelled out on that, real consistent, but there it is. IMB Podcast, where you can schedule an appointment for a Zoom call with me. Again, this is a Zoom call with me. It is not a webinar. And when you make the appointment, I will be sitting at my desk waiting for you to join the one-on-one Zoom call. Before we get rolling on this episode, I just wanted to share that in one of our Apple podcast reviews, Sheila JBB asked a question. She is wondering how to find resources on the Itchy and Bitchy website. If you go to our website, itchyandbitchy.com, again, and is spelled out, you will see on the top right corner the word blog. You click on that and it will take you to multiple blogs about some of the topics I've covered with links to products, etc. You specifically asked about the list of questions to take to your medical appointment. So questions to ask when you go to an appointment if you have perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms. I will ask Forrest, our producer, if he can get that list posted on the website for you. Also, if you post a request on our Facebook page, I and B Podcast, and this time the and is not spelled out, I and B Podcast, I can share with you the document that has the list of questions. So hopefully you're listening, Sheila JBB, and thanks for reaching out to us via Apple Podcast reviews. So I have been feeling a little draggy and fatigued over the last few days, and during all of the complaining I had going through my head about how fatigued I was, I thought, you know what? I should not be complaining. I do not have chronic fatigue syndrome. So just stop your kvetching, Karen. At that moment, I decided that I want to talk to you about chronic fatigue syndrome today. So what is it? Myalgic encephalomyelitis, abbreviated ME, so you don't have to say those words, abbreviated ME, otherwise known as chronic fatigue syndrome, which is abbreviated CFS. They are the same thing, just different names, same thing. It is a long-term severe illness that can affect many different body systems. People with CFS have unexplained severe fatigue that can last months or even years. The people who suffer from this illness are unable to do their daily tasks or activities. ME or CFS is underdiagnosed. It was always believed to be a psychological or even imagined problem and wasn't even recognized as a legitimate illness until a 2015, that's 2015 report that defined it as a disease with physical symptoms. At the time of this 2015 report, it was estimated that 2.5 million Americans had CFS, but at that time, about 84% of people with the symptoms of CFS were undiagnosed. So what causes this? It is still not completely known why some people get CFS. CDC findings suggest that viral illness can trigger the disease. Specialists who treat CFS state that a viral infection provokes the disease in the majority of people who are diagnosed with the syndrome. Epstein-Barr virus, EBV, The virus that causes mononucleosis has been associated with CFS, but other viruses, including COVID-19, have been implicated as a CFS trigger. It is theorized that there could be many triggers for this debilitating disease. Since there have been cases within families recorded, there may be a genetic component that predisposes one to developing CFS. It is possible that something like EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, could flip a genetic switch, resulting in the initiation of ME or CFS symptoms. Scientists have looked into other possible causes like immune system issues and hormonal imbalances, but have found no definitive answers. The CDC reports that CFS can affect any gender, ethnicity, or socioeconomic background. However, once again, I have said this very thing about many other disease processes. Women are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with this syndrome than men. 4 times more likely if you're a woman. CFS can occur at any age, but most often it affects those between age 40 and 60 years old. So 40 to 60 years old and female are the most likely people to get CFS. And guess what? Those are perimenopausal, menopausal women. One of the main symptoms is debilitating fatigue. I'm not talking about feeling pooped after a busy day. This, like what I was complaining about to myself earlier this week. This is a profound fatigue that leads to a sharp reduction in your ability to function daily, and this is lasting for 6 months or more. In someone with ME, excessive activity isn't needed to bring on exhaustion. It occurs with everyday activities that should be easily managed. Even sitting in an uncomfortable position for a long period of time can generate symptoms. I'm going to talk about the other symptoms that occur with CFS after this quick break. Green Chef is a CCOF certified meal kit company. Green Chef makes eating well easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, including keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just a more balanced meal option. I'm always talking to you about eating clean, right? Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating clean. There are no artificial colors, sweeteners, high fructose corn syrup, and limited added sugar and limited processed ingredients are used. They use certified organic whole fruits and vegetables and organic cage-free eggs. Eating clean is easy with Green Chef. Green Chef's recipes are nutritionist approved. They have recipes that are under 700 calories and meals that are protein packed that contain at least 40 grams of protein. Green Chef also has lunch options that are ready in just 10 minutes, so you can eat well all day long. Green Chef features organic produce and sustainably resourced seafood, and you know how I love companies that focus on sustainability. They also help you decrease your food waste by up to 23% versus grocery shopping. At our home, we eat a Green Chef meal 3 times a week. My husband is a meat eater, and I lean toward vegetarian meals, and Green Chef keeps the cuisine peace at our home since they have so many choices for both of us. Go to greenchef.com/itchy50 and use code itchy50 to get 50% off plus free shipping. Go to greenchef.com/itchy50 and use code itchy50 to get 50% off plus free shipping. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Welcome back. So how is ME or CFS diagnosed? Well, because this syndrome can have so many different symptoms that overlap with other diseases, diagnosing CFS can be a little tricky. The other factor that can delay diagnosis is that most physicians are trained in a way that leads them to think that if someone has 8 or more symptoms, it must be a psychiatric disorder. Also, fewer than half of the medical textbooks include information on CFS, and fewer than a third of medical schools even cover CFS or ME when training physicians. A third of medical schools. In order to diagnose this syndrome, a thorough personal and family medical history should be completed, along with a physical exam and labs and possibly other testing to help rule out other causes of the fatigue. And during the history taking, the use of a specific questionnaire for CFS, like the Canadian Consensus Criteria. I had to say that slowly because it's sort of hard to say faster. Anyway, the Canadian Consensus Criteria is key for diagnosing this illness. This diagnostic tool includes 7 symptom categories that are required for the diagnosis of CFS. So, in telling you about this, you will hear all the other possible symptoms that people can have when they have this syndrome. So in order for a person to be diagnosed with this syndrome, they must have fatigue that is new onset, unexplained, persistent, or recurrent physical and mental fatigue that substantially reduces activity level. Second one is fatigue after exertion with a very slow recovery, usually 24 hours or more. The third is sleep dysfunction. The person has unrefreshing sleep even after 10 or 12 hours of sleep, or sleep rhythm disturbances such as having a reversed wake-sleep cycle. Number 4 is pain. There is a significant degree of muscle pain, and pain can be in the muscles and or joints and is often over the whole body and tends to move around the body. Often there are significant headaches that are a new type of headache or are new in pattern or severity. Number 5 is neurologic or cognitive problems. For diagnosis, one has to have 2 or more of the symptoms that include confusion, poor concentration, poor word retrieval, trouble focusing vision, or disorientation. Number 6 are autonomic, neurologic, and immune manifestations. At least 2 of the following symptoms need to be present: lightheadedness, dizziness when bending over, heart palpitations, shortness of breath, sweatiness, intolerance to heat and or cold, tender lymph nodes, sore throat, flu-like symptoms, and medication or food sensitivities. Number 7, the illness has a distinct onset and has persisted for at least 6 months. So this list I just shared with you are the numerous symptoms that are usually experienced by someone with CFS. About 25% of people with a diagnosis of ME or CFS have symptoms that are so debilitating they are housebound or bedbound. ME is a condition that can go into remission and then relapse, and people often experience significant fluctuations in their well-being from day to day, week to week, or month to month. How is this treated? Well, unfortunately, there is no cure for CFS. Rather, the symptoms are treated with things like gentle exercise and counseling, along with various drugs like sleep aids and pain relievers. I usually talk about adrenal support with patients who have CFS to help with some of the symptoms and to support the immune system. If you think you have ME, you should let your provider know your list of symptoms. You can even use the Canadian Consensus Criteria diagnostic tool to record a complete list of your symptoms and bring that information into your appointment. If you are having difficulty getting help, there are specialists around the world who can get an accurate diagnosis. There is a global directory that has been created through crowdsourcing, and you can find that directory link on the website meaction.net, meaction.net. You can also find a link to the Canadian Consensus Criteria tool on that website. I hope this helps with understanding this disease so you can seek help if your symptoms are consistent with CFS. Remember, if you need to know more or want to know more, you can visit meaction.net, meaction.net, a website that has a ton of information about ME or CFS. I want to thank Green Chef for sponsoring today's episode. I encourage you to visit our Facebook page, IMB Podcast, where you can leave comments or questions for me. Our website is itchyandbitchy.com. There are blogs on the site with some of our subjects available for you to read. On the Facebook page and website, we have the information about how to schedule an appointment with me. Again, this is not a webinar, so we can chat about my perimenopause course and see if it can help you if you're going through this phase in life. As always, thanks to Forrest Wenzel, our producer and composer of our theme music, and the person who does all the work of putting things together on the website and Facebook page. When I say we, thanks, Forrest. Check out his album called An Awful Lot. Go to wherever you stream your favorite music to listen. And if you do not know where to stream music, you can find the album on Apple Music or Spotify. Your health is in your hands. Take care.